Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
What's up, y'all? I'm KC.
And I'm Tyler, and this is another Big Buck Breakdown from the Element Podcast.
Brought to you by Exodus Trail Cameras. All right, on this show today, we have got Dave Skinner, who has been on the show before. Really good mind in the whitetail world, and a dude that knows a lot of stuff, really. I mean, he's land expert, deer expert, and he has showed it to us by killing another giant buck. Dave, what's happening, man?
Oh, not much, buddy. Just coming off the high from a pretty awesome season.
Yeah, I hear you, dude, and you have for sure. Y'all, it's good that you've killed some stuff. That way you can just, concentrate on Christmas and be a family man, right? Because I'm not good at
that. Me either, according to my wife.
Exactly. See, I think I'm so good, and my wife might have things to say, is all I'm going to say. So, anyways, man, you smoked a giant recently.
He was a good deer. I don't know if I'd classify him as a giant, but I'm pretty tickled with him.
Yeah. Well, we live in the land of small deer, so you can use our scale or our gradient down here if you want to.
Good to me.
Yeah. So tell us about it, man. Is this a deer you've known for a while?
I've got this farm that never really produces what I consider a giant deer. I've got a lot of good mature bucks, but I get a lot of those 4-year-old 8-pointers that a lot of people won't take a second look at. And this was one of those deer last year, and he really wasn't much changed. On a typical year, I don't know that I would give this deer a second glance, to be honest with you, but I just didn't have anything showing up. And this deer was a no-show right up until Wednesday a week ago. Hadn't had any photos of him all year long. And I didn't have a deer I even remotely wanted to shoot. Had a buck that I had been waiting on, but I called a Flyer 9. He was six years old pretty easily, had 3 years of history with him. He was pretty much unchanged over those 3 years. And I'm like, this deer is ripe for the picking. I was anxiously awaiting him all year. And he usually showed up about the third week of October. Third week of October came and went, no show. Fourth week of October, no show. Pretty soon we're getting into gun season. We're about a week before gun season. And I start really analyzing pictures, and I realized I had him on camera. But one side was missing, and he only grew 3 points on his right side. He might have scored 40 inches. Had lost probably 60, 70 pounds of body weight, was just a fraction of the man he was just a year ago.
Oh, my gracious.
Yeah. So my season pretty much went to, excuse my French, hell in a handbasket about that quick. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have anything I wanted to kill. So the rifle season came and went. And then a week ago Wednesday, I don't remember the exact date, probably around the 8th or 9th of December, this buck shows up. And at the time, I didn't recognize him. To be honest, I didn't recognize him until after I killed him. I went back and started looking through photos and found him from last year. He was pretty much unchanged, just another year older.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So did you? I guess I kind of missed. Did you shot him with a bow? Is that right?
No, I didn't. I killed him with a muzzleloader. We've got a 9-day long late muzzleloader season in Kentucky that if the weather's right and you got food, man, it can be really, really good. And this was one of those years where everything kind of come together.
So you said you were kind of setting over a food plot, or how did you set up on him?
I was over a food plot. He had been coming in every morning on that food plot Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but the wind was wrong for me to get in there. I could have bow hunted him had the wind been right.
Yeah.
Saturday, muzzleloader come in, couldn't hunt him that morning because he was so close to the blind I would have been hunting out of that. With the wrong wind, there's no way I would have got away with it. So we opted to go in that afternoon, and of course I roll over in the bed that morning. I've got one of Spartan's new Go Live cameras that you can just turn on and make it start recording. So I roll over it's pretty awesome. So I roll over into bed that Saturday morning. It's opening morning of muzzleloader season. I could be hunting, and turn the app on, hit the go live button, and he's literally standing right there in front of the camera. I squealed out loud. My wife, I woke her up. You gotta be kidding me. What's cool about it is you can start recording. When you're looking at the video, you're just watching. You're just an observer, but there's a record button so you can record it. So I got probably 30 seconds of video of him, and I turned it on at the exact right moment. He's standing on the left side of the frame, and then he walks through the frame, stops, and then walks out of the frame. It was just pure luck that I turned the camera on when I did. But yeah,
that's intuition, man. Deer hunting intuition right there.
I guess pure luck is what it was. but anyway, so we started hunting that evening. I had Whitetail Properties sent me a cameraman down. We were going to try to film it for Whitetail Properties Television. So I called them Wednesday, said, "Hey, I've got this deer. Wind's not right till Saturday afternoon. Can you get me a guy here Saturday midday?" So they send me a cameraman down. He got here about 11 o'clock. I was tied up with a showing. I'm a land guy. I sell land for a living. And I got there, picked him up about 12. We were in the blind. We saw no less than 30 deer. I would say probably 40 deer that evening. No good bucks, including the one I was after. Several young bucks, but does everywhere. I mean, at one point in time, the field was empty, and all of a sudden a parade of deer come in, and within a minute, there's 15 deer standing in front of us. It was just unbelievable what a cold front and good food can do for you. So that was our Saturday evening. Came and went, pretty uneventful. But I was really, I thought, well, he'll be dead by 7 o'clock Sunday morning. I was a little overconfident. So we get in there extra early Sunday morning, and as so frequently happens, it was like somebody flipped a switch. We still saw deer, but not the volumes of deer. And we consistently had deer in front of us until about 11 o'clock, which is kind of weird, late season, but we're right. This food plot is right on the edge of a real thick, nasty bedding area. So those does can be bedded 50, 60 yards off the field. They'll stand up, come out there, get them a bite, go lay down, chew their cud for a while. They'll come back and do it again. So we're seeing deer all throughout the day, and I'm getting a little old. It's hard for me to sit I do sit all day a lot, but after about 5 days of that during late muzzleloader season, my hips were giving me such problems. I couldn't, it was like, man, I can't handle a whole bunch of all day sits, after this deer. So let's slip out. He's not been coming in midday. Let's slip out 11:30, grab us a sandwich, stretch my legs so my old butt doesn't get stiff. And all my young buddies here are dying laughing right now listening to this because they make fun of me about being old all the time. I'm really not. I'm only 45. Man. I just feel old. Yeah. But anyway, we go get us a bite to eat. We're back in the blind at 1 o'clock. At 1:05, there's 5 deer standing in front of us.
Oh my goodness.
And and I'm like, man. But what was funny is, again, that go live came in pretty awesome, because as we're slipping up on the food plot, I can turn it on to see if there's deer in the food plot, so we're not blowing him out in case he happens to be there. And there's nothing in the food plot, and we'd have to walk 100 yards. And by the time we get over the rise to where I can see the food plot, there's a doe standing there. So she moved in that quickly. And of course we got in the blind. She never ran off. We were able to get in the blind, and she's like, "Oh, what's those two big monkeys doing climbing up there?" But anyway, we get in the blind, get settled. 5 deer in the field by 105, and then it was a steady parade until 3:30. It was just constant all day long. No good bucks. We did see a couple of different times. I saw a buck that my daughter had shot about a month earlier and did not kill. She hit him behind the tenderloin, and he's as healthy as ever. Limps a little bit, and we're still trying to get her on him. But I'm like, there he is. I wish he was here with me. I'd rather shoot that deer than the deer I'm after. Get him, get her taken care of, kind of thing. But so anyway, we're sitting there about 3:30. All of a sudden, someone flips the light switch again, and the deer just shut down. And I'm like, man, it's so weird, because yesterday it was just a steady parade, and 3:30, there's no deer in the food plot. We're getting close to prime time. There's nothing going on, and sunset's here at 4:30, so we can hunt till 5. I got an hour and a half. Typically, that is the best hour and a half, and there was nothing, and I thought, man, what is this deer? Is he, he's going to outsmart me, I'm going to have to hunt all week long to kill this thing. And as so often happens, when things are slow, you're not on your toes. And I'm probably surfing Facebook or something, looking at everybody else's big deer. And my cameraman says, there he is. And I look up, it's 4:30 on the dot, right at sunset. And I look up, and he's standing there at 15 yards, walking straight away from us.
Oh, my goodness.
There's a heavy trail that comes in from the right. This is a power line food plot. There's a heavy trail that comes in from the right, and he had been coming from the left, crossing in front and going out the right. Well, he did the exact opposite this evening, and ended up standing right there and walking straight away from us. And I can't wait for this TV show to air, for the simple fact I sound like a 12-year-old boy who has never seen a deer in his life. My breathing is off the charts. I'm huffing. It sounds like I'm hyperventilating. If you have children and you've ever punished one of them and they get to crying so hard that they're kind of huffing and they're trying to catch their breath, that's what I sound like. And I realized, you sound like such a dang rookie. And at one point in time, the deer turns, and he's about 55, 60 yards away from us. And he turns, and he's walking straight to the right like he's going to leave. And I tell the cameraman, get ready. And he says, no, he's working a scrape. And I don't even realize he's right. I'm just thinking kill. I'm just kill. And he wants to get the footage of him working straight. And I just want to put my hands on him, And so I'm like, okay. And thank God, because there's my crosshair at that point, he was at 55 yards, which is close. My crosshairs at that point is bouncing from his belly to his back to his head to his butt. I mean, I'm all over the place, and I couldn't get my breathing under control. I'm like, what is wrong with you rookie? And it's a gun, I'm a bow hunter. This is a gun, and I'm feeling like this. And I even tell the cameraman, I'm like, I've never been this tore up on a buck with a gun. And to be honest, the only time my very first bow hunting trip ever was in 1995 to West Virginia with my best friend. We took leave from the military together, went there bow hunting, and I was standing in the crotch of a red oak tree, October 15th, opening day of bow season. A little 6-pointer trots up under my stand, and I got buck fever like nobody's business. I'm froze. I can't raise my bow up. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to stop him at that point. I was such a rookie. I had no idea what to do. I just literally watched him walk out of my life. And that was the last time I felt like this. And I'm shooting, an 8-pointer at 65 yards with a McWhorter muzzleloader that's literally like shooting with a 375 H&H. And I'm so tore up. I'm like a little girl in the tree. Kind of embarrassing, actually, but anyway, he walks off of the scrape and walks about another 20 yards and starts angling towards the center of the food plot. It gives me that perfect quarter in the way shot that's so devastating on a deer. And the rest is history. I got calmed down enough to squeeze the trigger, and that muzzleloader is so violent. It just his hind legs pull up in the air, and he just sets right down on his butt, and 5 seconds later he's laying over dead. It's happened that fast.
There really isn't a more hectic situation than a deer comes from a direction you don't expect, and it surprises you and is real close, just like Dave's talking about here. And you got to do things to mitigate how much franticness you're going to experience in that. And let me tell you, getting a good quality release is going to help you a ton in that. So you need something like Cobra Archery offers, where they have the hook style release, they have the pinch on style release, they even have the the non-wrist rocket style, the handheld thumb button release types like the Harvester. And you need to find a release that's going to suit your needs, that you can practice with a ton. That way, when a big buck like that comes out, it's just second nature. You just clip on, draw back, release, and get your big deer. So go check out CobraArchery.com if you're interested in some of their offerings, and tell Jake we said howdy.
Yeah, and then at that point, it's all over but the crime, So
yeah,
that's awesome, man. That's like, I understand what you mean by, and we both do. It's all over but the crying, because that's what we did all year. Every time we shot a deer, was cry. So it's like, it's just, man. Sometimes it just means so much, and the emotions are so much. I mean, most of the time, And if you ever lose that, that's what you don't want to happen. You want that to happen. You want that emotion to be there. But dude, that's an awesome story. I think that, last time we had you on, one of the big subjects we talked about was scrapes. And obviously this deer was working a scrape there in early to mid-December. What can you kind of lay out what it looks like, and talk about also what your camera was on? Was it just on a trail coming into that field, or was it actually on a scrape? And talk about just the positioning a little bit of tactics here.
So that trail camera was more on, I'll use the old, I don't even think plot watcher's in existence anymore, but I had it set up more as a plot watcher type camera. Mm-hmm. A lot of deer would trigger. This food plot is about 25, 30 yards wide and about, muzzleloader range long, 100, 125 yards long. Mm-hmm. And it's setting up literally on the leg of my blind, looking down the food plot. So when I turn it on, I can see the entire food plot. Yeah, so it's a pretty basic setup. And I typically would have had a camera on a scrape on that field edge just to inventory the bucks that are coming in there. But as most people know, when the bucks start breeding does, well, they stop working scrapes. Scrapes are the last thing on their mind once they actually are actively breeding does. But once those does are all bred during that first, I hate to call it a first rut, second rut, but that's truly what it is. That first rut's kind of out of the way. Well, those bucks are still anxious to find another doe. So for the next few weeks, they're looking, it's not like it was before the rut, but there's still that activity going on. They're still out looking for does. And then as you get closer on, 28 days later, you've got all the does that didn't get bred the first time. They're coming into estrus again. And then any fawns that are large enough and mature enough to come into estrus are starting to pop as well. So you get a little bit of a secondary rut. And while we were there, man, we had some 2-year-olds bumping does around and stuff, but this was really the only mature buck we saw, because if we saw any other mature buck, we'd have shot him, but we weren't, this was the deer we were hunting, but that's only because he was the only mature buck I had.
Right.
So long story short, a lot of people make big claims about the secondary rut. We've got an even enough buck to doe ratio. We don't see a real heavy second rut, but there's always evidence of it. I have seen big bucks nailed down with a doe on December 8th before, guarding off other bucks. She was hot, and he's guarding, right? One specific story, guy about 5 years ago, this same farm on December, and I said December 8th because of this specific story. I had a mature buck, big buck, 165, 170 that we had never seen before or after. He showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning on December 8th, which happened to be our late muzzleloader season, good food source. Nobody was hunting because we were all tagged out. And he was in there in daylight all day long until 4 p.m. So 8 to 4, we probably had him 10 or 12 different times on camera, and every time his doe was visible. Don't know where he came from. if she was one of our does, if she drug him there or what. But if you were going to kill that deer on our farm, you had to be there December 8th between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Yeah, that'll make you want to brand your does, won't it? That way you figure out what's going on.
Never thought about that. But maybe I need to.
I think that's why them boys down there in South Texas put them ear tags in deer. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. You said 28 days later, and I think that was a horror film from the mid 2000s. So I just thought I'd give a little bit of rabbit trail there that we could chase. But we're actually coming up on that here in Texas, so I'm pretty pumped about that. And it's kind of, not the horror film, sorry, the second rut at least. And Tyler and I are actually going hunting this evening and hoping to kind of get in on some of that action. And it intrigues me that buck did something different than what you had him patterned at doing. Do you think that he kind of went into like a post-rut type mentality, and then that specific day he got a whiff, or a doe led him to a different spot that night, or why did he come a different direction that day?
That's a great question. I had no pictures of him in the evening time. In the morning, every time I had a picture of him, he was going towards where he came from in the evening. So simplistically, he was probably bedded in that direction. And when I was catching him in the morning, he was going towards bedding, and then he's coming back. That's the only thing I can say. What he did different that I had not documented was use his food plot in the evening. Now, I tell people all the time, just because you don't have a picture of a buck on a food plot doesn't mean that buck's not using it. That's one reason why I had the camera set up on plot watcher mode or observing, is so that if a deer triggered that camera, I could see what was in the distance. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know that he did anything different. He definitely did something different than he did on Saturday, because I was sitting there Saturday. He never showed up. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he very well could have been in there. He could have been in that food plot on Monday, and I just didn't get a picture of him. So we use these trail cameras too much. And I say that I work for a trail camera company. They might not like me saying that, but we depend on them. Let me say this. We depend on them too much. And I think as hunters, we probably lose some woodsmanship depending on trail cameras so much. And that'll be a popular comment with some folks. It'll be a very unpopular comment with other folks. And I'm somewhere in the middle, because I do depend on them a lot, mainly because my time is so limited. I can't go sit in a stand for a week at a time waiting on a deer to walk by that might not exist. I need to know he's there. I need to know a pattern, because my time is so limited. And I think that I probably fit the mold of most working class American deer hunters. So that's why I think they're so important. But on the flip side of that, I really don't know that he didn't do exactly that another day. And just because here's what's crazy is the angle of my camera. When he came out that evening, I was thinking, man, this would be awesome if we got him on camera. Well, when I watched what he did, when he stepped out, he was directly in front of me, but right on the right edge of the food plot. He never triggered the camera because he never broke that beam to even trigger the camera. Well, he could have done that every day, and I would have never gotten his picture unless he happened to be standing in the right spot for another deer to trigger the camera once he was out of range of the camera. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Something that was instrumental in Dave being able to target this deer was trail camera use. And it wasn't just trail cameras, in the moment. It's like a season-long thing that you do as you're a trail camera guy. You're checking your cameras, you're making plans, you're scheming, which is so much fun. And, man, we use a ton of Exodus trail cameras. And I'll tell you what, I've been targeting a deer on Texas Public here that we've been looking at for seasons on end now. I mean, I think this is the third season that we've got this deer on Exodus trail cameras. He's a toad. I'm just going to say that. And, man, without those reliable trail cameras that take good, clear pictures night, day, no matter what, I wouldn't have the data that I have to chase this deer and have encounters with him. So go check out ExodusOutdoorGear.com if you need a great trail camera, or if you're looking to get a good Christmas gift for yourself. Yeah, that's the truth, man. And honestly, it speaks to your passion and testament, to be able to just give it to us frank on the way trail cameras work. And Tyler and I have actually ran into that on the place that we're going tonight, actually. Funny enough, it's a place that there are more deer moving through than what you're getting on camera, because there's no well-defined, this is the trail, and unless you set your camera up on the absolute best pinch point, Like, it's absolutely not catching every deer that goes through there. So, you definitely are on point with that. And, you're talking about being a busy guy and, being a working class fellow, which, I understand 100%, man. And you're pretty passionate about what you do for a living. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, your land sales and stuff like that?
I've worked for Whitetail Properties Real Estate. It'll be 9 years this coming May. And I got a couple buddies that give me crap about all the things I have done, but this is I have now done this longer than anything else. I was a cop for 6 years, which was the previous record, so I think I have finally settled into my stride. And I don't just sell hunting land, but that probably makes up about 75% of what I do. Mm-hmm. I'm not your typical real estate agent. I don't sell 3-bedroom, 2-baths on a corner lot. I'm selling, a timber frame log cabin on 300 acres, or I'm selling a 50-acre hunting tract to a guy from Alabama, or maybe a 500-acre tract to a doctor from downtown, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's all about land. And as a whole, our company does it pretty dang good. We have been in the land business for quite a while and have got it figured out, I would say. And it's the most rewarding career I could ever ask for. It allows me sometimes, I get to do things that other people probably don't do. And I call myself working class. I absolutely am. But my job also does afford me a lot of flexibility. I mean, I killed a really nice buck in Kansas this year. I got to kill a buck in Illinois this year. So I get to travel some. Probably wouldn't have traveled as much had I had a Kentucky buck to hunt early on. But it is what it is, and so it's a pretty rewarding career in multiple ways, So.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. We'll definitely link to your page there on Whitetail Properties. You sell in Kentucky. Is that exclusively Kentucky?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I've helped clients in other states. Matter of fact, the buck I killed in Kansas was on a client's farm that I helped him. So if somebody's looking for something anywhere, call me. I'll help you. We've got agents in 35 states now, so we've got a heck of a network, man. And if you want, whether it's you want to kill giants in Iowa or you want to hunt gators in South Georgia, man, we can set you up. So give me a shout. I can surely point you in the right direction.
There might be a business opportunity to start Gator Properties LLC as opposed to Whitetail Properties. So maybe we need to No, I'm kidding, man. We'll definitely link to that stuff below.
You joke about that, but in the early days of Whitetail, they started branching out some other brands, like they own waterfowl properties, oil and mineral, or gas and mineral, oil and mineral properties, I think, and now we've broken into ranch and farm auctions. So we do it all. We don't have that brand, but if you want a gator farm, we can sure sell you one.
I believe it, man. You might sell Iced Eskimo. Who knows, But Dave, it's cool, man. You've had an awesome season. Congrats on the big buck there in Kentucky and pushing through kind of some tough hunting to make it happen, man. That's real cool, dude. So congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
Man, what an awesome story about a big buck. Guys, we want to say a big thanks to Exodus Trail Cameras and Cobra Archery for being a part of this big buck breakdown.
For sure, man. And also, if you want to check out what we do on a daily basis, maybe even see some of these big bucks, go to Instagram and follow us at The Element Wild. And then also subscribe on YouTube to keep up with what we're doing throughout the season. And subscribe on the podcast. And remember, this is your element.
Live in it.
I'll swim across and meet you on the other side. I'm not sure why we even have to fight. We grew up in the same situation. The river between us caused a lot of frustration. Brothers, let's forgive and forget.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.